Now, pretty much everyone has a phone nowadays and takes pictures whether on a vacation or just casual. I think knowing how to edit pictures is a really cool skill to have in your tool bag. In this video, I wanted to give you guys a deep dive about how I go about my workflow editing pictures on my iPhone. Now, disclaimer, some features in the Adobe Lightroom mobile app are paid, which will not be accessible to anyone, but I will cover other free tools and apps on mobile devices in the coming videos. So stay tuned for that. All right, now starting with this picture, as you guys can actually see, it's a picture of a landscape that I used a foreground with using this this bedrock where on the hill where we're standing. I've put this mountain peak in the middle and the sky as the background. So what I usually like to do is split the image in three parts to actually have local edits on each and every part of the um, image. So what I do is use the mask tab. So now I'm going to actually use for the sky, I'm going to use the sky and I'm going to use create, and we will fine tune it afterwards when the sky has been touched. Okay, you can see the selection is pretty good. Now I'm going to make a brush grade so I can actually select the foreground. I'm going to brush like this. It's not a problem if it's just a rough selection for this video. If you're really working more on a professional project or so, you would want this to be more refined and fine-tuned, but it's all right just for the sake of this video, so I can show you guys my editing workflow and you guys can also learn along the way. And then I'm gonna make a third selection, and that's gonna be also a brush, and I'm going to actually um, make the brush size a little bit bigger like this. And I'm going to start brushing over on the middle part of the image where actually you have the separation between the sky, where you have, there you go, something like this. Now, and for example, if I really wanted to refine my selection, I would zoom in on certain part of the image and I would brush over it like this. So I'm certain that I get those parts in the selection also. There you go. We have it. Make sure to not go over the edges because it's a relatively bigger brush. I'm gonna just put it again because I modified the mask. I'm gonna zoom on this part of the image. There you go. And then what I like to do is I'm going to start with the sky. Now, what I like to do for the sky, I like to dial down the exposure a little bit to get a little bit more color out of the sky and add the shadows a little bit so we have a little bit more of those deeper blues. Now for the sky, I like to lessen the texture a little bit to give a little bit of that dreamy and haze look. I'm also going to dial the clarity down to -10, not too much. There you go. The dehaze, I'm going to let it like it is. Now for the colors, I would like to give it a more deeper blue. Now I'm going to fine tune the hue to +6. And I'm going to actually also dial down the whites. The whites, I'm going to let it like it is. Now, moving on to the middle ground, which I did not really finish the selection. I'm going to finish it like this. There you go. Just a rough selection. Now, to my taste, the foreground is a little bit too bright. So for that, I'm not going to touch the exposure, but I'm going just to add a little bit of contrast. So we have a little bit of that more uh, dark colors. So I'm going to actually, so we have a little bit less focus on the sky. And I really want to bring the focus to the middle ground. Now, my aim for this image is to have a balanced image, a balanced final image without too much um, throwing away the edit or making the edit too overthrown. Now for the colors, it's pretty good. I'm also going to add a little bit less texture to the foreground. I like my images to be a little bit more dreamy and hazy and not so detailed. Now for the details, I mostly add in the details tab, and I'm going to show you when we are jumping to the middle side of the image. Now on the middle side of the image, I like to actually add a little bit of these shadows just to show a little bit more of those details. I like to make the blacks a little bit darker to get a little bit more contrast. Now for the colors, I'm going to add a little bit of saturation. Now to my taste, there is a little bit too much blue in the middle side of the image. Now for this, the fine tuning is not really the best way to do it. I am going to leave it like it is, and I'm going to show you how I do it actually um, outside of this part. And afterwards, I am going to add a little bit of details. We're going to add a little bit of sharpness, around 55, without having the image too much noisy. Now, the noise, I'm going to let it like it is. And we're going to validate everything. Now for the color balance, what I like to do is go here on the color tab, go on the color mix, add this little eyedropper tool, go to the hue tab and select somewhere in the middle ground and balance out my colors this way. Now, as you can see, if I can go down, we see the blues are getting a little bit too high. Now for that, I'm going to actually lessen the saturation a little bit, heighten the luminance, or let's add a little bit less luminance so we give a little bit more detail to the image. And then we go to the hue and we just change it quite a little bit. Now for the saturation on the bedrock, I'm just going to add a little bit of saturation to give it a little bit more of that cinematic look. And for the luminance, I'm going to heighten up a little bit the images. So now this is the final look of the image, as you guys can see. Well, let's hide this tab. This is the before and this is the after. And as you guys can see, we have a beautiful result. It's a beautiful grade without too much throwing off the colors in the image, bringing a little bit of the details back into the image. As you guys can see, it's really detailed as we zoom in, because this was taken on my Lumix GH6 with the high resolution mode. My bad, the image disappeared, as you guys can see. And if you want, now you have an extra workflow shortcut is you can copy and paste the edits if you have a similar image, but I would suggest to not do it because most images are going to have a little bit of a different composition. Now, if you want to see more of my pictures, let's head over to my Instagram and connect there. If you found this helpful, don't forget to check out my other videos. That's it for me today, and I'll catch y'all in the next video.